Today is Tuesday, August 29th, and we are at Destiny Studios in Kingston, Jamaica. My name is Diane Lucas, and I'm a third-year law student at Harvard Law School. And today we're going to be talking about education in Jamaica. And Alex, can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Alexandria Lee, and I'm a rising 3L at Harvard Law School.
And today we're with Anders and Michelle. If you can please introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Anders Jones. I run an organization called T4T-Jamaica. Over the last 5 years, we've worked with schools and communities to put computer labs in schools. And today we've got about more than 3,000 computers all across the island.
Hi, I'm Michelle Robinson. I am a teacher and the coordinator of a program at Mountain View Primary School. It's actually a computer program that started with Anders. And so far, we have increased our numbers of computers from 7 up to 22, all because of Anders and the Teens for Tech program.
Excellent. Well, Anders, if you could tell us more about the Teens for Technology program and how it got started.
Sure. It started in 2001. I was down here on spring break, and I was having a conversation with a Judah driver about his 2 kids that went to Mountain View Primary, and how there were 850 kids at the school and there's 1 computer. And that came as a big shock to me coming from the U.S., where I went to a school with 850 kids and maybe 200 or 250 computers. So it started with a spur of the moment instinct, well, I've got a computer in my basement that I don't use anymore, and maybe if we get that, it'll make some difference. But when we started looking into it, we realized that one more computer wasn't what was needed, but it was actually a lab, and there was no software. We needed to put software in the lab. And so we worked for a year. I went back to my school and got a group of kids together and said, look, here's this problem. And we worked for a year. And in March of 2002, we came down with 12 computers, 75 pieces of software. We spent one of the best days I've ever had with the Mountain View community. Then we sat back and realized, well, there's a much greater need than one school. And that is really when Teens for Technology was born. And so that was in 2002. And since then, we've got about 250 schools wired, and we're working on a program now. We're calling it 10K for JA. We're going to bring 10,000 computers down in the next 18 months, and hopefully put a computer lab in every school in the island.
Mm. Well, how many volunteers do you have in this program, and how do you recruit people to be part of the
Well,
organization?
what's really great about our group is that we're all teenagers, and so we have a lot of people in high school and we have a lot of people in college. Actually, at this point, only some of us are teenagers, but it's a completely kid-driven group. But I'd say that we have about 100 people in the U.S. Who are involved one way or another. It's a really cool program, and it's a really great cause. And Jamaica's just got this really magical appeal in the States, so it's not that hard to get people interested. What we do is, another really great part of our program is that we sort of solve 2 problems at once, because in the U.S. There are 10 million computers that are thrown away every year. And it's actually quite expensive to get rid of a computer. You have to be conscious of the environment, and if you're a bank, you have a lot of financial data that you need to get off the computer before it can be thrown away. In the U.S. last year, there were 10 million computers that went out of service. That's just corporations. That's not even counting individuals. And right now there are 37,500,000 computers sitting in corporate warehouses that are just sitting there. So what happens to them? Well, what people don't realize is that there's actually a cost associated with throwing a computer away. And it's usually about $150 per computer. And that involves wiping all the data off the drives, throwing away the pieces that are toxic in an environmentally friendly way, figuring out, if it's a company, figuring out exactly how many computers, if they have 50 computers that they're throwing away, they need, for their accounting, they need to figure out exactly what it is that they're getting rid of with serial numbers and everything. And then also the last piece is just transportation and logistics. How do you get a computer from Wall Street to wherever it needs to go? So we have a model in the States that can address all those needs for about 1/5 of the cost that it would actually cost the the company to do it otherwise. So a company in the U.S. pays about $150 to throw the computer away. We can do it for $20. So it's a huge money saver for them as well. And then in terms of actually getting them ready to go, it costs about $150. And that involves getting the computers refurbished, put on a ship, sent to Jamaica or Thailand or wherever, cleared through customs, having software installed on them, and then distributed to the schools. So it's actually a very small number, and it does it goes a long way. So we work by getting those computers refurbished in the U.S. and we send them to Jamaica. At this point, we're doing about 300 a month. We have an application that the schools fill out, and we have 5 criteria. One is that there's a secure facility, weather-tight facility to house the computers. The schools need to demonstrate an ability to teach a curriculum. There's a co-funding aspect, so that I always call it a partnership and not a donation, so that the schools come up with a portion of the cost and then we match it. We also ask that the schools will stay on board as buddy schools. So if the school down the road wants to see how a computer lab works, the other school will open up its doors. And finally, we ask for quarterly status reports from each lab so we can see what's working, what's not. It's a great way for us to get best practices and find out what's most effective. So the school has an application that they fill out and it says, yes, we meet all these criteria. They submit it to our office and then we approve it, and then they come and get the computers. So we've got the whole chain worked out. We've seen an increase in grade point average, increase in literacy, increase in attendance, and a decrease in gang violence associated with the computer labs. So that's just, but there's so many great stories in each individual case. This lab has got adults working on the computers after hours, or this lab is opened up to another community, and so each school is a different story. Yeah.
Our school is actually in a city area, so the students all come from these inner city communities around the school. And before, they saw having a computer as something for the rich, not for a ghetto person to access a system. And it has said to them, listen, you are important. You can have access to something that you usually see as being for out there, not for you. You can. And so you get a sense that they have grown in pride. I am important. I can do this. And what you see now, everybody wants to log on, get onto this, use this. When the little ones, because I start with grade 1, come in and they see the lab, the eyes go wide and there's a huge smile. When the parents come in, because we bring them into the lab before September, before they start school, and you'll see the surprise, and my child is actually going to be using this. And I'm saying, yes, this is for you. It's for you. You can use this. So what you see is it sees growth in community pride, in school pride itself. That's one of the biggest things. And then after that, you see the interest growing for other subject areas. If I can do this, and this is a computer, this is technology, then you see them more interested in doing math. And other subject areas are growing because the interest is now there. And what we have done is use a lot of subject-based software. So we're merging what is done in the regular academic program with computer technology. And what you'll see is that those who were once a little slow with reading, there's an interest there. And because of the interest, they're now moving into putting a little bit more effort into reading, doing the math, and so on. It's like a prize for them when they step into the lab. It's like a lottery, or a lotto. It's a big prize for them. And I think what happened is that it starts with the students. The parents pick it up. They spread it to other members of the community, because I've had outsiders come in and ask me, can I come in there's a ripple effect in the communities around. So it started with a little pebble, when it drops down in the water, right? And this is what you're seeing. It's just growing and rippling and getting bigger.
Here I see a computer lab in every single school. In terms of the broader picture, because of all the support that we've gotten down here, we've been able to expand internationally. So we now have programs going in Thailand and Pakistan. And we're working on setting up a sort of a hub in Southeast Asia because there's a huge need there. We've had interest from countries all over the world. We've probably had 15 inquiries from various governments as to how we can get our programs operating there. I'd like to go to Africa, I'd like to go to Eastern Europe, I'd like to go to Asia. We'll see what happens. I think that given the spirit of giving that surrounds it, we'll go far.
Over. Recess is over. Over. Recess is over. We have work to do. Recess is over. 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 Recess is over. Recess is over. Over. Recess is over. Over. Recess is over. We have work to do. Over. Recess is over. We have work to do.